Hello and welcome to the OMG MotoGP podcast French GP review episode. Alongside myself, Renita is former Grand Prix rider and British champion Keith Huewen. Plus, joining us fresh from his home Grand Prix at Le Mans is Thomas Morsellini, chief editor at Sports Bike magazine. Gentlemen, what a race it was. A three-way fight for the victory, a record-breaking crowd. MotoGP doesn't get much better than that. But Thomas, I wanted to ask you, what was the atmosphere like at the circuit this weekend?
It was nice because it's always a party when you go to the French GP. It's one, I would say, not because I'm French, but it's like the best GP about the attendance, about the what is done around the tracks, and also because it's quite particular because it was bank holidays in France, so it was a long weekend, and also it was a sunny weekend, so it's quite rare for for the French GP. So everything was here to make a big event. So it was the atmosphere was very nice, and people are getting younger and younger. I would say it's like it's not only passionate people, it's also young people, young girl, young boys coming to the GP just to see the riders, like Fabio, I would say, also, and Zarco. But it's nice, really nice.
I think the French Grand Prix promotion, I think it's Claude Michy that still is the promoter. He does a fantastic job. The problem we have here in the UK is that the demographic, as you might see, is quite old. And our demographic, the fans of 45,000 people at Silverstone is terrible for a track as good as Silverstone. And you had, being a statistician, you'll appreciate 297,000 people. But what they've done in the French promotion is brought everything on site. They keep all of their fans in the circuit and promote things within the circuit. Before, Le Mans used to be destroyed because everybody used to riot down in the town.
Yeah.
But they've done such a good job.
Yeah, Claude Michy and his team, they are doing always a good job. But I think that it's only, maybe I'm wrong, but it's only the private promoter of the calendar. So maybe it's different from the others. I would say that maybe it's, how to say, they are here also to make money. So sometimes they are doing a lot of things to keep people inside. Concert, also a fan zone where all the riders come during the weekend just to meet the people. So it's a big scene with a lot of people there just to ask questions to the riders, also to the journalists that can sometimes come to the scene as well. And there is a lot of stuff because there is also Moto-E, there is also Red Bull Rookies Cup, so there is always something on track. And also on Saturday night there is a show that is called in French mechanical show, I would say. So there is a stunt riders that are here to make the show. There is a young riders that are here just to be on the track with their little bike, just to show the straight line. So it's nice, really nice, and it's different from the others Grand Prix. It's not the same atmosphere.
You have one of my favorite stunt riders, Sarah Lazito, I think it's her surname. She is the young lady that is absolutely the best stunt rider.
Yeah,
and she is so politically incorrect because she wears very thin clothing. There's no protection that she wears when she does these stunts. She is incredible. Anybody that's watching OMG MotoGP should look up Sarah Lazito. She is outstanding, and she does loads. She's a bit like you, Renita. She does loads and loads of reels and memes. She knows all this latest stuff that I don't get too involved in, obviously.
That's okay, Keith. We'll pass on that. But guys, let's chat about the racing. What a Grand Prix that was. Marc obviously qualifying in 13 to get second place. Jorge sitting back for majority of that race and then take the win. Pedro Acosta crashing. Where do we even start? Thomas, what was your thoughts from the Grand Prix?
it was a nice Grand Prix, especially because I don't know if we have to talk about that, but there is also a battle in the backstage about what will be the rider next to Pecco Bagnaia next year. So there is quite a battle between Marc and Martin. So in Jerez, Martin was not the best one, but Marquez was there to fight with Pecco. And now there is a battle with Pecco, Martin, and Marquez so it's a battle on the track, but also outside, So this is quite particular, I would say. So it was nice. I would say the race was not the greatest because the track in Le Mans is not convenient for battles. Yeah, but it was nice to see Marquez just come back from 13th place to finish on the podium in both races, on the sprint and also on the race. So yeah.
Well,
I don't know if
Jorge Martin, he might find himself in a difficult position here because, I mean, Ducati are spoilt for who they're going to sign. I mean, will it be Jorge Martin because of his results, or will it be Marc Marquez because Marc Marquez is the biggest name in motorcycle racing? Then you've got the possibility that Pramac will go to Yamaha, and if Pramac go to Yamaha, that's another thing. So maybe Grassini will get a factory ride, and maybe factory bikes, and maybe Marc will stay there. I feel sorry for Enea Bastianini. He got the full factory ride, pushed Jorge Martin out, so he never got the ride. So there's a little bit of fight going on there, I think, as well. But I mean, I think probably, Thomas, and maybe you being on site most of the time will get a feeling for this. Who would Pecco like to have on the other side of the garage? You've got to have harmony, really, in a team as well.
Yeah, I don't know how to say in English, but he has to find a good lieutenant. In French, we said like this: a rider that is not here to take his place as the world champion. So, but to keep him away from the rivals. So it's not, it's not. I would say it's not that simple. But I would say that Pecco is not. How to say, focus on that, because I think that even if it's Marquez or Martin or Bastianini, he said that it's bullshit. So he said that if one of them, he will beat him. So
Pecco didn't have a good weekend. I mean, in the sprint, really, there was definitely some kind of a problem there that they couldn't overcome. So not a great weekend for him, but a fantastic one again for Jorge Martin. I think Jorge Martin, for me, looks like he's overcome that rush that he has in his head. He looks like he's calmed a little bit, and that's made him even faster.
Yeah, as you said, we can see during the race, even for Marc, during the race, Martin was behind Pecco just to see where he can pass him during the race. So he wait until five laps before the end. I don't remember when, but to overtake him. And as well for Marquez. Marquez was, Marquez from the past. When there is someone in front of him, he always tried to overtake. During the race, he took a lot of time just to wait behind, to come back and behind Martin and Pecco, just to wait the right moment to overtake. But as Pecco said, Marquez and Martin were the fastest. So there is no excuse. They were the fastest, and then that's it. So he have to work for the Catalan GP, and then to make it better.
It's a difficult round for riders, isn't it, at Le Mans? Le Mans is one of those tracks that it's quite a simple track, but simple tracks are difficult to go to stay fast on. And I think the grip level wasn't where some of the riders may have been expecting it. And we did have some incredible saves and some incredible crashes. And that's just Pedro Acosta.
Yeah, exactly, during the sprint. Yeah. As Fabio Quartararo said, because this is I would say the best, the weakest point of the Yamaha, but he said that there is no grip on the track, so it was quite difficult, even worse for the Yamaha. But yeah, as you said, it's not the best one for the grip, and it's a stop and go track. So you have to have an engine, and you have to have the best aero to go outside every corner. So you are the rider, so you know more than me. But so yeah, it's Le Mans is quite particular. So even if we see the Yamahas like Fabio make good performance there, I think that it's only for the track, and then for the Catalonia and for the next one, it maybe will be harder for them.
Do you think though, sorry Keith, no, I just wanted to ask, touching on the point of Fabio, do you feel like because he did have this newfound confidence this weekend, obviously it was his home Grand Prix, which does help for that, is that something we're going to see further where maybe he is going to tracks that doesn't necessarily suit the Yamaha at the moment, but with his confidence of potentially finishing in a top 6, the best result he's had for so long, are we going to see a new version of Fabio Quartararo for the remainder of the season, do you think?
I would say yes, because they are working on the Yamaha. He's in the Mugello today for a test, and they are working to be better for the second part of the season. They are making a new bike, I would say, aero, not engine, maybe, because he said that the engine is good right now, but they need aero to manage that power, and then waiting for the second part of the season. So yeah, for the second part of the season, I think we will have another version of Fabio to see him battle for the front, not for the victory, because I think it will be hard to bridge the gap with the Ducatis and KTM and Aprilias, but I think it will be better for them. I hope. As a French, I hope.
Well, we hope, because we like Quartararo and Zarco. I'd love to see the Honda back in some kind of performance as well.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
They are two favourite riders, even in the UK. So to see, I think motorcycling's like that, isn't it? We kind of want to see everybody at that level rather than just picking on one or two riders. I wonder, around the paddock, I mean, everybody, Yamaha, Honda, they're working to try and get their motorcycles something like right now. But with these rules that have come up, this new package for 2027, I mean, what's the feeling in the paddock regarding that? Is anybody really looking at that at the moment, or is that something for much further down the road?
From the manufacturer side or for the journalists?
I think for journalists, riders, and the manufacturers, I think this has got 3 prongs to it. I mean, probably I can answer the rider one. They'll be ignoring it until it happens. They won't even be interested in what's going on. They don't want to know about any of that. That's done somewhere else in the kitchen. But what the journalists feel, that'll be interesting. And what if anybody is talking about it in the manufacturers? I have a feeling that they're probably quite closed regarding this subject.
Yeah, I talked with Romano Albesiano and also Gigi Dall'Igna. I had the chance to talk with them, and especially Romano Albesiano said that it will be difficult if the rules doesn't change until 2027 to freeze the engine and the development, because they will have to develop 2 bikes in parallel. I don't know how to say in English, but so another philosophy of engines, because it will be 850cc, so it will be different from the 100cc, and to keep that development in parallel will be difficult. So they hope the regulation will change it from 2006, that everything will be frozen. So they hope for that. And I think that I don't know the feeling, because as you said, it's they look happy, but maybe it's an internal war between them, because I think that Ducati, what they have done until now, they will have to develop a new bike, so maybe they will not be able to be as the best as now. So I don't know. From the manufacturer side, I would say that for now it's too early to say that who will be the best for the future.
What about the journalists? I mean, journalists in the media center always have massive opinions and speculation. It's their job.
From my side, I would say that it's a good news, because as we said, Hondas and Yamaha are struggling right now. So maybe from 2007, they will have to start from scratch, new engine, new aero, new So maybe it will be better for the show, and also it will be nice for a new manufacturer to come in. So like BMW or maybe someone else. But I think it will be to start from scratch. So that's it. So it's yeah.
I can imagine promoters from around the world, and definitely Stuart Pringle at Silverstone and the collaboration they have with Dorna, they must be looking at the French Grand Prix absolutely green with jealousy at how Claude Michy has made it work at Le Mans.
Yeah, I asked because I did a video yesterday with Johan Zarco, and I told him, is there a particular recipe for the French Grand Prix compared to the others? And he said, I don't know, because it's always a party, and since the beginning in 1994, since PHA Claude Michy organized the Grand Prix, it's always a party. So he doesn't know why, you know.
Is motorcycling in France? I mean, it's always been a big thing, motorcycling in France. It's not very big in the UK, it has to be said. It may be something to do with the weather. It might be that, I don't know. But it's, when you said that the demographic is very young now, it's quite young. That's like in Asia, it's very young, the demographic that come to watch motorcycle racing. I mean, is there any reason in your mind that why are the young French, so keen on Grand Prix?
On Grand Prix, I don't know. Really, I don't know. Even when Michel Turcot, this is a good friend. He is here since 1990, and he said that he was surprised by the party it was during the weekend, even since last year, because last year the record was broken about the attendance. So he doesn't know, and me as well, because I'm younger, I would say. But I don't know why. I don't know why, because motorcycle racing in France is not that popular. I would say it's more car racing, like Formula One in Monaco, and a few years ago in Le Castellet for Formula One as well.
It obviously helps having a world champion at MotoGP and
Quartararo
being there, Zarco being Moto2 originally also, and then moving up. It obviously helps.
Of course. And also there is a particular thing, because we have only two French riders, and a young one and I would say an older one. So it's all the generation are covered, So young generation can see and follow Fabio on Twitter, on Instagram, and also all his thing on the socials. And also Zarco was active on the social since a few years ago. So it's not that kind of guy that is always active on socials, So it's different. And all generations are covered by only those two riders. Compared to, a Spanish rider, there is a lot of Spanish riders. So, too much, I would say. But, you can't identify only on one rider. There is a lot of riders. So Marquez and Marquez brothers, Espargaros, and, so there is a lot of riders. So it's different, I would say, but it's... all the generation are covered by only two riders.
I covered the Northwest 200 in Northern Ireland last week. I was in Northern Ireland for the Northwest 200. I
saw the crash of the riders on the car.
On the roads. And there were 12 riders that were over 60 riding. And one was even older than me. There was one that was 68 years old that was riding. Jeremy McWilliams. Jeremy McWilliams, and he was still alive. Jeremy McWilliams at 60 years old was on the podium again. I mean, it's incredible that in the UK there was only one rider. The youngest rider was 21, and there was only one. There were 12 riders over 50 and 5 riders over 60, to be precise. And they were competitive, and it was a great event. But I worry about what can produce the interest for young people again, particularly in the UK. And the only thing I can come up with is we need a Quattararo in this country to promote our sport again. Newspapers and media are not interested in MotoGP here. They don't promote it
Yeah,
at
really.
all.
Even with Jack Dixon.
Even with Jake
He's
Dixon,
young.
I think Jake
Okay.
Dixon in Moto2. I think the problem we have here is they're only interested in Formula One or MotoGP, and because MotoGP doesn't have any in it at the moment, it's the only one. They're very our media doesn't have great depth, shall we say, when it comes to the support of our sportsmen, and that's probably across the board. Unless you are a headline person in a very popular sport, they're not interested in promoting somebody. I mean, if we had a Barry Sheen, maybe that would work. I mean, Carl Fogarty unfortunately didn't do anything in GPs. Jonathan Ray should have gone to Grand Prix, in my view, but again, a missed opportunity there. So I'm just intrigued as to how we can interest our young people again here, to enjoy motorcycle racing, to come and enjoy the party. And obviously the French have got that right. You guys know how to party. There's no doubt about it.
Yeah. For sure, we have young riders that is pretty popular with Fabio. So it's and also, as you said, he was world champion in MotoGP. So of course, the notoriety, if you say like this in English, but is more like, because Zarco was double world champion, but in Moto2.
Yeah.
So he is not as popular as Fabio.
I think even Cal Crutchlow, who we interviewed on this show some weeks ago now, it's not that he wasn't complimentary about perhaps Jake Dixon or the current crop of British riders, but he kind of dismissed them as being MotoGP riders. He didn't seem to believe that they were going to be the ones that were going to be the saviour of MotoGP in the UK. I'm probably interpreting that a little bit harshly, but that's the way that I interpreted it at the time. It's difficult to see where that's going to come from. Do you have a system in France where there are young riders coming through? Do you have a ladder of events, or do French riders go through the Spanish system like most British riders do, for instance?
Yeah, there is how to say in English, a ladder. Yeah, as you said, from the beginning, Moto 5, Moto 4, and then pre-Moto 3 in the French French Superbike Championship, sorry, and then the French Federation helped the best one to go to European Talent Cup in the Spanish Championship, and help them to go to the Junior GP. So yeah, we have something, but it takes time, because with the new rule about the age limit, you can go to the junior, you can go to the World Championship before 18. So there is a lot of young riders, but they are waiting, growing until that they can go to the World Championship. So it will take some time, maybe 2 or 3 years, I would say, just to get some new riders, because after Zarco, because his contract will finish in 2 years, 1 year and a half, and then after Fabio we have no one. So we are waiting for the new riders to come. There is a good rider in Red Bull Rookies Cup called Guillaume Planck. So maybe he will join the Red Bull championship next year, but he will have to be on the top 3 or top 5 of the Red Bull, because to get the interest of team managers, you have to be on the top. So it's not that easy for everyone.
Is there much money in France? That's a rude question, but is there much money in sponsorship? Is there much money in...
No. Some riders, maybe I would say all riders, have to pay, to ride. So it's not a secret. Even in other countries, it's when you are not the best one on top on every weekend, you have to pay to ride. So it's difficult, and it's getting expensive. So yeah, it's difficult to go to the motorcycle racing, but it's not a secret. Racing, not only motorcycle, but it's expensive. So you have to have money, you know.
Let's touch on the lower championship while you guys are talking about the younger riders. Let's talk about Moto2. I know you guys brought up Jake Dixon just before, obviously coming off of that terrible crash he's had earlier in the year. Jake didn't qualify well, got an okay start, and then we had Joe Roberts, who was obviously leading the championship and then gambled with the tire. So then Sergio Garcia took the win. What was your thoughts on the Moto2 race, Keith? Where do you think Jake's going to go for the rest of the year? And Joe Roberts, do you think he's going to keep fighting for that championship?
I think your mentality changes depending on where you are at this particular point in the year. I think Jake now will be concentrating on race by race. He's not looking at championship. He's not looking at anything meaningful as far as that's concerned at this point anyway. There's still a long way to go, of course. But I think qualifying on the fourth row as he did this week, remember this was the place that he should have won his first ever Moto2 race, and he fell in the final corners on the final lap of the Moto2 some time ago. Sorry to remind you of that, Jake, if you're listening. So it wasn't a great weekend for Jake, and he's fighting back now. So we'll have to wait and see what he's got when he digs in. But from the fourth row, up into the first couple of turns here at Le Mans, if you're not Marc Marquez, you're not going to be riding around the outside of people. You're not going to, Marquez was brilliant how he cut through from, was it 9 places in the first lap he managed to pick off. We've seen it before with Mark when he was back in Moto2. I seem to remember, where would that have been? It might have been Valencia, actually, where it was, he came from virtually nowhere. And on the first lap, just passed people like they were on a warm-up lap or something. I've never, he's remarkable. Jake's got work to do. Cannett's third pole, didn't convert it again. This is something that Aaron Canet seems to struggle a little bit with. But I think, in the Moto2, it's got to be the standout, is the MT Helmets, a new team, finishes 1 and 2. I mean, remarkable. I mean, what a great way we talked about money. Money is everything, of course, in motorsport. And to have your team finish 1 and 2 as a new team is pretty bloody remarkable. I mean, big up them, I think. And Ogura. I mean, that last lap from Ogura, how many times have we seen him not do that? I mean, Ogura really made it work to pinch that second place was exceptional. So I think Moto2 quite often can be I'm going to use the word, the boring category. It's the one that we like to watch, and we love the sound of the 765 Triumph, but it's not always the most interesting race. We kind of Moto3 and just lately MotoGP, but it was an interesting race. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, but as we said earlier, Le Mans is not the best track to overtake. So for rider that start very far, it's not the best track for overtake. So it's difficult. So about Dixon, I think that the race was difficult for him.
Well, if we're going to talk about races,
flag for Garcia. Sorry. Flag to lights to flag win for Garcia. That was pretty impressive, and he leads the championship now, doesn't he?
He does, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, with 7 points. So also remarkable to say that it was a triple for Bosco Scuro chassis. So not a Calex on the no Calex on the podium. So it's also nice to see.
It is. I mean, if you go back to the old Moto2 days, right at the beginning, you had the Harris. There was so many different chassis back in the day.
Exactly.
And I miss that. I mean, Calex have had, because they're so good, everybody wants their chassis, and generally they are the chassis of the season. But Bosco Scuro has come good. Just the old speed up chassis has come really good in lately tells. But
yeah.
What I wanted to say before is you guys were saying, Moto2 is not that exciting, not much overtaking. Moto3 had a lot of overtaking this weekend. So let's chat Moto3, guys. For me, David Munoz, he was on a mission, but obviously just got caught out.
He's not on anybody's Christmas card list. That is for sure. No one is going to be interested in David Munoz before Christmas.
Yeah, he did a good race, but as you said, he pushed Ricardo Rossi, if I remember well, and then he had a penalty for that. But yeah, as you said, Renita, he was on a mission, and I think that without this penalty, he was pretty sure to win the race. So yeah, it's a matter of time now.
For sure. Before they ban him. No, I'm joking.
So it was obviously David Alonso who took the victory ahead of Holgado and Colin Vaya, but Holgado is leading the championship now from 1 point ahead of Alonso as we go into the next Grand Prix, the Catalan Grand Prix. So what are you guys thinking, Thomas? Who do you think is going to come out stronger for the Catalan Grand Prix? I mean, it's so hard to say because it's Moto3. It changes all the time, right?
Yeah, but I think that this year David Alonso is above all other riders, because he's when you see the race, he was 4 or 5 during the race, all the race, and then wait for the last laps to go in front and then win the race. So it's his third win, I think, this year, and I think he is above Holgado and maybe also Veja. So let's see. But I think Alonso has something special this year.
Every national anthem has its day. The French national anthem we used to hear a lot of once upon a time. Now it's the Colombian national anthem we're hearing more of.
Yeah, it's the different. It's different. We used to hear Spanish one, Italian one, but Colombian one is is rare.
We never heard it before.
Yeah. Exactly.
Now we hear it every week.
Yeah, exactly.
I wanted to also ask you guys, sorry, just to go back to MotoGP for a quick minute. Brad Binder, terrible qualifying, right? Last on the grid, 22nd, to finish up in 8th, I believe. But it felt like with Jack Miller's results, obviously Pedro Acosta, Augusto Fernandez, this track just didn't seem to suit the KTMs compared to the other European manufacturers, or was it just not a good weekend for the riders individually?
I don't know. I just saw in the debrief Acosta, so I don't know for Binder and Miller's, but it was not the best one for them. I think that Binder changed something on the bike during the weekend and then struggled, but I'm not sure. So I don't want to say something wrong. So I don't know for them.
Keith?
KTM, I mean, obviously Binder was the best KTM and he made the most of a terrible weekend, really, in the 8th place. They're going to be disappointed with that, whatever happens. I mean, and the Aprilias, didn't really. I mean, Aleix Espargaro was ready to kill people at the end of the race. He'd had enough of being pushed and shoved all over the place. I think Le Mans is a difficult racetrack. We've covered that. It's slippery. You've got to take a chance to make a pass. I mean, when you saw what Pedro Acosta was like, sort of millimeters away from everybody all of the time, and then when he finally
one finger, he said one finger, just one finger.
One finger, yeah, and I know which finger that would have been. Oh, sorry. Pedro Acosta, how he missed Digi, I don't know. I mean, like, it was so incredibly close. I mean, how to crash underneath somebody and miss them. But it's what you've got to do at Le Mans. You've got to push that hard to make it work. And that's why the likes of Acosta, if he'd stayed on, and Marquez, who did stay on. I mean, I feel like we're not really bigging up the Marquez achievement as much as we should do. I think that he is, he's come back from hell. He literally has come back from hell. He's given up on a contract that was worth millions and millions of euros to come and race in an independent team on a year-old motorbike, and he's performing in the way he is. If that was anybody else, we'd be screaming from the rooftops. But because it's Marc Marquez, we kind of expect it from him. But I mean, it's remarkable. I mean, I'm so pleased to see him back. I'm not particularly a Marc Marquez fan, other than the fact that I love motorbike racing. And to see somebody come back from something like he's been through to where he is now and at his age as well. We were forgetting he's just beginning to get into that zone where you start thinking about perhaps being hurt. You start thinking about other things in your life a little bit.
Yeah.
So for him to still be so committed to what he's doing, I think Marquez is the man of the meeting again for me.
Yeah, exactly. And then, as you said, he's now pretty popular in France. A lot of applause and screaming about him for him. To cheering him. It's nice to hear. It's nice to see. You can see on Twitter, on Instagram, that he made the show on the pit lane just to applause with the crowd. So it was nice to see. And as you said, he came from hell, and now he is happy. You can see in Jerez and also in Austin that he was on the podium. He was dancing, making the show, always smiling. He's free. I would say he's free.
Yeah.
So he's
in his mind.
It's nice to see. Yeah, exactly. So
you make a good point there, Thomas. With the French crowd, they were, Jorge Martin, when he was coming around, you could hear the applause for the appreciation of his performance. I mean, that's pretty. I mean, I'm English and I'm going to like the French.
Yeah, but it was the opposite for Pecco during the weekend. I think that when Pecco made mistakes or was overtaken by some riders, people applaud, or because he's I don't know, maybe because he beat Fabio in 2022, so maybe the crowd doesn't like him. But yeah, it's different now, because a few years ago we used to hear, when Marquez was in front, that there were no applause, I would say. So
you touched just before on Aleix Espargaro, Keith, and I feel like that's something we need to talk about. What is happening with Aleix at the moment, and his emotions, and this battle that happened with Franco Morbidelli and was it Digia? What is going on with Aleix Espargaro?
Aleix is someone that you will always hear what he thinks or what he believes. His heart is on his sleeve all the time. Aleix he's the oldest guy in the field. He doesn't appreciate that kind of being duffed up as he was. I mean, he believes that the penalties aren't consistent in that. He thinks that you get penalised not for the cause, but for the result. If he'd been knocked off, somebody would have been given a penalty. But the fact that he wasn't knocked off because he picked up and let them through, they should have been given a penalty. Now, really contentious issue. I believe that this year, Freddie Spencer and the stewards have pulled back from too many penalties. Thankfully, because you've got to be able to pass. You've got to be able to take that risk to make a pass. And with Aero being what it is, and Le Mans being what it is as well, if you don't try to push, you're never going to get past. It's just going to be motorcycles following each other all the way around. So I understand where he's coming from. Nobody likes being passed in that way, but you just got to say it's okay. It's racing at Le Mans. It's what's going to happen. But you are always going to hear about it from Aleix. Some people think he's a whinger. Some people, don't appreciate it. And some people are on his side and believe that he's right in what he says. But you're an older rider. You're in a situation where your teammate is going quite good at the moment. You're going to be out of a ride at the end of his contract. He's going to be going the same way as Pole. They're going to be the brotherly test riders. He's had a good career, and he's got a good career still in front of him, but doing something different, I believe. But
yeah,
he's a bit old school, and he doesn't appreciate being pushed around by other riders,
especially youngest one.
Indeed.
Well, guys, I feel like that just about sums up the French Grand Prix. Do you have any last minute? Actually, I just remembered I wanted to say this as well. I was listening. Sorry, so those listening, I jumped ahead of myself, but I wanted to say, talking about those passes, Pecco Bagnaia made a funny comment in the post-race debrief. He said that the pass that Mark made on him was, I can't remember the word he said, but it was like tactful. It was a good pass, and I feel like that was kind of like a little slide say.
I think Bagnaia, Renita, I think you're right to bring that up. I think Bagnaia was lining himself up for making a pass on Jorge Martin, and Marquez forced his way past earlier and thwarted any effort that Bagnaia may have had to stick one underneath Jorge Martin. He may feel in his heart that he was lining himself up for a win, and he ended up third. But anybody, and particularly Pecco, who's a smart lad, will know that if you've got Marc Marquez behind you, he's going to have a lunge. He's going to have a last lap go at you for sure. So whatever he said afterwards, whatever the secret meaning of his words were, he had to expect, surely, a Marc Marquez effort.
Of course.
I think
he said, as I said, he said that Marquez and Martin were faster. So it's not like a battle like in Jerez. He said that Marquez was faster. So,
and he ended where he ended up.
Yeah, exactly.
Thomas, it's been really good to see you, I have to say. And your English is a million times better than our French.
Oui.
Thank you. Sometimes I'm struggling to find my words, but yeah, the main thing is that you understand me. So
we do.
We do. It's been so awesome to hear from you and hear what it's like in the paddock. But guys, like I was about to say before, I feel like that is pretty much the French Grand Prix all wrapped up in a nutshell. So yes, Thomas, thank you so much for joining us on the podcast. Keith,
thank you.
Keith, it's a pleasure as always. And listeners, if you can't get enough of OMG MotoGP, then check out our social channels at OMG MotoGP on all of the platforms. Or if you have a question for our team, you can email us omgmotogp@gmail.com. Lastly, our Patreon members, shout out to you guys for helping support OMG. We've got Anne, Scott, Josh, Peter, Josh again, Eric, Sam, Rob, Mel, and Richard. Thank you so much. But that is all for now. We'll be back for the Catalan Grand Prix in just under 2 weeks' time.